Good day. Welcome to the Trending Issues program of the Line of Contact series. We are on the joint media platform Press Clubs TV, created by the Baku and Yerevan press clubs. Following the initialing of the peace agreement on August 8, meetings between delegations from Azerbaijan and Armenia have become increasingly intensive. The first round of these discussions took place in Yerevan and Istanbul, with the next scheduled to be in Baku. The parties expect future meetings to be even more comprehensive and to include broader participation. Does this indicate the start of new regional norms, or is it just another step toward signing the peace agreement? We have two experts as usual from Armenia and Azerbaijan, and now we're going to discuss all these issues with them. Mr. Areg Kociнян, President of Research Center on Security Policy, Yerevan, Armenia, and Mr. Zauр Шириев, non-resident scholar at Carnegie Russia and Eurasia Center. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Mr. Kociнян, I'm starting with you. As I already mentioned, over the past months, a series of meetings have taken place in Yerevan and Istanbul, involving representatives of civil society, think tanks, parliamentary delegations, as well as expert visits to various events in Yerevan. And now the first such meeting is planned in Baku. Very general question, what do you expect from these mutual visits, or more precisely, what should we expect from them? Because for these exchanges not to become a form of extreme tourism, but to generate tangible benefits, they must be followed by concrete steps, joint initiatives, and the engagement of broader segment of society. Do you agree?
I do agree, of course. Well, again, I would like to thank you for the chance of the conversation. With regards to the track 2 conversation, or the conversation between the civil societies and the expert community, I would say that we shouldn't be in two extremes. One extreme being overestimation of the possible outcomes of this format, with imagination that all the problems can be solved within this format, or I don't know, political problems such as these disagreements on the communications, disagreements on the peace treaty, disagreements on the delimitation, demarcation, anyhow can be solved, because simply this format, of course, doesn't have a mandate to solve this kind of issues. This is a consultation format, I would say. But here, the other extreme is to underestimate the role of the format, the role of the involvement of the civil societies and the expert community, because it is worthy of doing. Why? I would specifically mention three things that can become an outcome from these meetings, from these trips. First, very often it is much easier to discuss new ideas, to discuss something that the person needs a certain level of courage to highlight as a new concept, let's say. It's much easier to discuss this kind of topics amongst the experts, amongst the civil society, compared to the track 1, compared to the official negotiations. Very often the official negotiation line is too cautious, is too conservative to even dare to discuss something new. So that's the very first, let's say, added value that the conversation between the civil societies can bring to the table. Second, when we are talking about the long-lasting peace, when we are talking about the normalization between the countries, it obviously can't be done only from top to bottom. It can't be done only through the negotiations between the governments. Other actors from the society are needed. Civil society, media, intelligentsia, businessmen, etc., etc. The more, the better. The more colors in this rainbow of the conversation, let's say, the better. From certain point, of course, not to create a chaos. But if we're talking about rapprochement between the societies, much bigger involvement than just the government is needed from both sides. That's two. And then the third possible thing is specific projects that civil societies can do together. For example, during the last couple of weeks, we have noticed some level of negative developments, especially in the vocabulary, in the verbal part of the communication between these sides. But to an extent, that was brought to an extreme because of miscommunication, because of disinformation, because of misinterpretation, etc. Yes, there were some negative developments on the verbal part, but they were developed even more negatively amongst the societies against each other. So where I can see a very specific project that the civil societies can do is fact-checking format, where, for example, Azerbaijani experts would have the opportunity to make announcements and discussions on the Armenian media and vice versa, not to allow at least spread of misinformation about the announcements or any kind of bilateral developments. This is a very specific example of a project that the civil societies can do together.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Shiriev, I want to ask the same question to you, just shortly. How we can make this initiative sustainable?
Thank you. It is good to see Areг here. First of all, I think Areг talk about the two extremes, but also I would like to talk about this another extreme, expectation extreme. So we see that at least the two view. One is that saying that actually nothing is going to change, so we don't need this, or we don't like this. So this is not only about this extra group, it's about everything. So this is a peace agreement, we don't like it. We would like the comprehensive peace agreement. So this agreement, we don't like this. So this approach will continue. First of all, in order to be sustainable, to make this sustainable, so this process is dependent to three factors. First of all, political rhetoric, media environment, and the third, the state-to-state relationship. So now, Azerbaijan and Armenian state-to-state relationship, advancement of this relationship actually makes this kind of people-to-people contact to happen. And related to this, so I remember, let's say 10 years ago, when there was similar contact, but people were hopeless. And people said, okay, nothing is going to work, because that time actually the two-state relationship wasn't stuck. Nothing is improving, and no prospect of the peace between the two countries. Now we have a different realities on the ground, different relationships. So that's why it could make this the process sustainable. The second thing is that we should be, media environment. I think I would love to see more that actually the journalists involving to this process, also to changing the language of this environment, because the first, I think, there will be several stages. First is anger, then surprise, then learning, and the fourth is unlearning, and then normalization. So this is how the people is going to see this, the people-to-people contact, or expert or civil society engagement. So now we are in the stage of the surprise and learning. So because I think when I was in Yerevan, I think I received very genuine questions about this Azerbaijan peace process. I have never seen this kind of questions, let's say 10 years ago when I was in Yerevan. So then I think the same will happen when Armenian the experts will come to Baku. When they return, people will ask the questions to learn and to understand. So when it's a long journey, and I think this understanding could make this sustainable. So if you put an extreme expectation, so this is not going to work. So
okay, thank you very much. My second question, following your answers, because there are dialogue within civil society and official negotiations. Yeah, they fully different each other. What do you think? Do these platforms complete each other, or do they remain parallel tracks? Because more broadly, do the reciprocal visits or mutual visits currently taking place at the civil society and expert level have any real capacity to influence the overall process at this stage? Mr. Kochinyan, please.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I would like to mention that I completely agree with my colleague, with Zauр, that we should manage the expectations. And definitely I can see very often either very nihilistic expectations or very optimistic expectations. As often happens, the middle ground is the best one. We shouldn't be neither nihilist nor overly optimist about the processes. And coming to your question, I would say that we already have seen how the track 2 or track 1.5, you name it, influenced the track 1 negotiations between Armenia and Azerbaijan. On this meaning, Armenia-Azerbaijan negotiations are very unique because expert level discussions and civil society level discussions so far already influenced the delimitation demarcation process, the peace process, the communication process, involvement of third parties, etc., etc. So it is very influential in my opinion. And yes, there is a level of communication or a level of integration between the track 1 and track 2. And in my opinion, this is how it should be. Definitely the track 2 should be independent, as the civil society should be independent. But no one says that there can be no cooperation, and there should be no cooperation between the track 2 and track 1, because by the end of the day, we all do the same thing. We all achieve, the aim for all of us is the same, peace. So definitely there should be some consultations, some cooperation, and some level of integration between these processes.
Okay, Mr. Shiriev, what do you think? You already mentioned media, added to mention media. What about this process of influencing each other?
If you asked me this question a year ago, probably I would answer differently. Now I think my answer will be different, because I think the reason is that we have right now transparency. In terms of that, so what was on the stake between the Azerbaijan and Armenia negotiation of the peace agreement. And now the text of peace agreement is available. Anyone can read it, because I think I remember a year ago or 2 years ago, there were many speculation, ungrounded speculation, and people actually put many demands that actually, so some people acted like that actually they seen or they actually involved, and also misinformed their media and also misinformed their population. Now, so I wouldn't say that now. Now the process is transparent, and what they are negotiating with Baku and Yerevan is clear. And I think so. In that terms, the civil society or the expert level, how to say, the role will be reducing, how to say, misunderstanding between the two sides. I think it was said many times that sometimes two sides are speaking the same language or using the same sentence, but understanding the different things. It was the case between Azerbaijan and Armenia, not only the level of the state, but also level of the expert. But now I think this process is helping to reduce this kind of miscommunication. So what will be the role of the civil society or expert level discussion? They can actually inform their own side. So what is harming other side? What is not good? What will be need? Other side might be what Areг said, that sometimes actually the two sides doesn't want to express their own, let's say, what they want to see other side, because it was seen somehow the weaknesses. So might be this kind of communication can be done by the experts or the civil society. So that's why this overall will help, how to say, also improving of the state-to-state level, I will say, the relationship. The media, it's hard to ask all the media entities to follow the rules, but might be there should be some ethical grounds. So also understanding how, let's say, using the one word can influence or can actually make a sensation. So
maybe some terminologies.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think it happens. So this is going to happen. So I think the media should be much more attentive to this, because the media's role is important because how media inform the public, public is going to read through the media all of this process. So I don't know. So that's why I see importance of the media communication. I remember might be the 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there was also communication between the Azerbaijan and Armenian media. I mean, they met several cities and they discussed that let's not use the certain languages or how to actually inform. So might be after this civil society expert level discussion also, the time will come that there will be much more broader media, let's say, discussion. And obviously, people less derogatory language we see in the media, a less sensational language, it will help. Also, it will also normalize this discussion. So,
okay, I want to ask a question about involvement of international actors. The European Union, the United States, and Turkey have expressed support for various dialogue platforms. In this context, could a form of international mediation or participation be effective in institutionalizing these reciprocal visits, or will the preference remain strictly for a bilateral format, leaving no meaningful role for any third party? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I would like to mention that, in my opinion, the international partners have played a huge role in developing the connections and the partnerships between the Armenian and Azerbaijani organizations and even experts. The fact that, for example, me and Zauр know each other, or me and other experts, or other experts and other Armenian experts know each other, is to a huge extent the achievement of the international organizations and foreign partners who were involved in the process throughout the years, and who achieved this. This is a major achievement. The fact that we are ready, we know each other, we are ready to work with each other. That's very, very important. That's first. With regards to second part of your question regarding do we see a role for them in the future? I would stress out. Yeah, I would say yes, but I would stress out specifically what role. I don't think that we need any kind of a mediation anymore. But we do need a participation. We do need project-wise participation. We do need project support. We do need a support of the meetings between the civil societies, the media, the experts, etc., etc. There, I can definitely see a role for the third players. As I said, a participatory and a support role rather than a mediation role. The mediation, in my opinion, was the previous phase. It was a very important phase. But that phase is already over because we are ready and capable to work together without a third-party mediation.
Mr. Shiriyev, what do you think? Should Azerbaijan and Armenia invite third parties to this initiative, being part of this initiative?
As Areг said, I think already starting with the biggest donor of this the tractor process was and still is the European Union. And I think they acted. No one invited them, so I think it wasn't a request by Azerbaijan and Armenia them to actually support this the process. So they actually prioritized this the process years ago. So I think they will have a huge interest of continuing or supporting this process. But what will change the design. So all of this, the programming of the design of the programs. Because the design made the most of the programs designed based on the realities of the past. So it is might be it's adapted a little bit, but now I think when they see that this type of the context is happening, probably they will come to the Azerbaijan Armenia also, or to ask the experts what kind of support they can make. So in this case, I agree that actually we are not talking about the mediation. We are talking about this. Mostly about, let's say, donor support, not only financial, but also might be in the media sector. So, for example, they can organize the trips and they can show how to actually to use media effectively in order to support this process. This has been done before. I think there was also a report about how to how Azerbaijan and Armenia can use better language in the media environment. I will say so. They don't need an invitation, so they will be there. Might be they will see that this process is entering a new stage, like the two sides are visiting each other's capital. So they will adapt to this change.
By the way, I want to share one information. Years ago, Baku and Yerevan press clubs worked together and they created code of ethics and vocabulary, what kind of terminology, what kind of words to use. Now this process is update, and I hope maybe in the next year it will be present for Armenian and Azerbaijani journalists as well. Now let's talk about the perspective of this initiative. What core mechanisms could expedite mutual visits and dialogue initiatives? In your view, what kind of framework should the parties establish to ensure the institutional continuity of these meetings so that the process does not depend on the political will of individual actors? For instance, the signing of peace treaty or the establishment of diplomatic relations. Sometimes it seems that agreement is reached on nearly everything except the signing of the peace agreement itself. Mr. Kochinyan, please.
Yes. Well, first of all, I must mention that for the foreseeable future, everything will be dependent still on the political will of specific individuals. Because we're still far, far away from the level of the institutionalized normalization and cooperation between the sides for us to talk about something beyond the political will of the specific individuals. So for a foreseeable future, this is not our reality, I would say. But at the same time, there are very specific and very tangible steps that can bring us closer to the peace, to the extended peace, to the situation when cooperation between the sides is not something phenomenal, but something normal. Those are definitely continuation of the delimitation, demarcation process between the countries. I see this as one of the most important processes between the sides, for it to be 100% specific. What is Azerbaijan, what is Armenia, and what is Armenia-Azerbaijan border? To a level, I think that at least at the beginning, our peace should be a border-based peace, where there is a border. To the east of this border, there is Azerbaijan. To the west of this border, there is Armenia. This is, in my opinion, a very, very important element. Second, of course, is the peace agreement itself. The peace agreement is pre-signed, it's initialized, it's already published. And in my opinion, in the upcoming 2 years perspective, we will also see the signature of the peace agreement. By the way, beside the signature, there is also the ratification of the peace agreement, which is also, in my opinion, a very important step. And I don't necessarily see the signature and the ratification happening in a very close period towards each other. There can be a period of time between those two procedures. And of course, that's the communication conversation, the one that got a breakthrough with the Washington Declaration and the signature of the TRIP agreement. So the further continuation of the conversation, first of all, between Armenia and the United States on the technical aspects of this connectivity, and then involvement, of course, of Azerbaijan and the larger conversation about the opening of the connectivity between the sides, not only Armenia, Azerbaijan, but also Armenia, Turkey, Azerbaijan, the trilateral opening of the connectivity. So those three processes are the main locomotives, if you will, of the peace process. They should continue. We should have achievements in the foreseeable future in those, and they will bring us to a situation when a much more institutionalized and a much more sustainable peace can be achieved.
Okay. Shiriev, please.
I mean, I agree that actually the signing and ratification of the peace agreement is important because it's going to upgrade the level of relationship between Azerbaijan and Armenia, and I will say this is also somehow normalize also kind of the communication between the state level relationship. So it's not going to be pre-approved. It's always much more, let's say, the better communication. However, I think I'm and I agree that it's much more dependent on the political will. So also dependent on the Azerbaijan-Armenian relationship. So let's be realistic. So if there will be any, hopefully not, the problems between Azerbaijan and Armenia, the major problems is so obviously we will not see the continuation of this kind of contacts. So so that's why the both sides, the state and also the civil society or the expert level communication is interested about this stability on this process. So so therefore there should be some synchronization. How to institutionalize this process? First of all, there were different ideas. Also, there was a different ideas integrated some peace agreements, like let's say state creates the working groups and involves the civil society experts. So in Azerbaijan Armenian peace agreement, we don't see this kind of the clause, but it doesn't mean that there shouldn't be one. There might be when Azerbaijan and Armenia sign a peace agreement, then they can decide that about involvement of this working groups or creating working groups and involvement of the experts or civil society to some kind of the work to Azerbaijan Armenian normalization process. This is possible, but what would be important if this is going to be tracked, I don't know whether this is going to be how to say the way to go, whether it's the right way to go, because then there will be a question about inclusivity. So how much you can involve. So might be in order to make this the groups inclusive, being continuation, this type of the communication is important, and it's going to be institutionalized in a way. So.
Okay, speaking at the Orbeli Forum in Yerevan, Zauр, you remarked that we need to rethink our approach to the peace agreement. I will try to quote directly. We must avoid creating inflated or diminished expectations and remain realistic. A change is mindset is necessary. What exactly is meant by this? From a realist perspective, what would you consider inflated or are underestimated expectations, and how, in what direction, and for what purpose should this mindset shift occur?
Thank you for this question. So what I referred at that time, because I think so before publication of the peace agreement, people say that we need a comprehensive peace. So when it's published, they say that we don't like this peace agreement. Some people say it. So then they say that we need a just peace. So then some people in Azerbaijan say that we need a victor peace. So I think there are different definitions of peace in people's mind, but I'm pretty sure that those who make this kind of the expectation, they never read any peace agreement, even including Azerbaijan-Armenian peace agreement. So the problem is that people saw and some still seeing the peace agreement as a magic formula. It might be also how to say mistakes or a lack of the work from our own side, the expert level. We couldn't actually explain better that the peace agreement is the first stage. It's not the end of the road. So this is what I mean, that actually not to underestimate what we have right now. This is the beginning. This is not the end of the road. So as you know, in the peace agreement, there is a clause saying that Azerbaijan and Armenia can also involve also to sign different kind of the agreement on the different sectors. So we will see this agreement in the let's say ecological area, or we will see, let's say, education, etc. So it will happen over the time. So this is my expectation, that not to see this as a process, the journey, not the end of the road. So also we need to think about, let's say, when we sign the peace agreement and when the question happens, so what's next? So might be when you ask the question about this, what's the role of the expert community, also might be they can also help the rest of states to actually better prepare a roadmap for future. for long term and short term. So.
Okay, Mr. Kochinyan, what do you think? Do you share Zaur's position, or what's the next?
I mean, it is very hard not to share Zaur's position very often. So I would definitely agree that the signing of the peace agreement is not the end of the journey. To an extent, it is the beginning of the journey. And this is a very important mindset that people should have in their mind, because the day we will sign the peace agreement will be also the day when many forces in both societies will try to either sabotage it or delay it, delay the implementation of it, etc., etc. So I would say to an extent, the real job, the real mission will start after the signature of the peace agreement. The long-lasting, extended peace, the construction of the long-lasting and extended peace will start only after the signing of the peace agreement. So I think we should keep in our mindset that it's just the beginning, not the end of the peace process, the signing of the peace agreement. And one more thing I would like to mention, Zaur also mentioned this, he said that many people don't call this peace a just peace. Same in Armenia, many people don't call this peace a just peace. But you know, I'm also a historian with my education. Very often, I would even say almost always, the peace and the justice are two quite different concepts. It's a very strong miscalculation or misinterpretation that peace is always just. Vice versa, peace is almost never just. It's just at some point, societies have to choose. Are they ready to continue fight for their understanding of justice? Because I guarantee you, this is something Armenia and Azerbaijan are hundreds of miles away from each other. Our understanding of justice and the understanding of justice in Azerbaijan. This is quite different understanding of justice. Or we're ready to turn the page and start building the peace. Yes, for many people, unjust peace. To a certain level, unjust peace. But peace.
Thank you very much, dear colleagues. My questions are over. If you have any additional remarks, I will welcome it. No?
Thank you, Semur.
Okay,
I don't have anything.
Okay.
Thank you. Same here.
Thank you very much, our expert, Areг Kociнян, President of Research Center on Security Policy, and Zauр Shiriev, non-resident scholar, and Carnegie, Russia and Eurasia Center. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.